Hey everybody, this is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous good looking friends. I have some great news to report. Meghan finally has made it from the parking lot to an actual red carpet for the annual Variety Power of Women 2023. Isn't that something, folks? So, of course, the Sussex PR machine has flooded the media. So, essentially, people kicking it off by saying, just days after stepping out in Montecito, California, Meghan Markle walked the red carpet in Los Angeles for Variety's Power of Women event. So, I'm guessing that Meghan's team is finally picking up on the fact that using her title, Duchess of Sussex, is not really helping her. In fact, it's hurting her. So, in this article, they totally drop the Duchess of Sussex and just refers to her back as Meghan Markle. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Meghan has come full circle back to the nobody that she once was. Anyhow, this event last night in LA was to celebrate Variety magazine's Power of Women honorees who each get their own Variety cover. I'm pretty sure that WME is responsible for this, but nevertheless, Meghan forced her way into the room only to be shunned by A-listers such as Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie, Billie Eilish, and Dua Lipa. All Megsy could get was a photo with a woman named Janet and some other lady who was an executive at Universal Group. Meghan could not even manage to get a picture with her own bestie, Oprah. In sticking with the Sussex brand, Meghan came dressed in an ill-fitting, boring beige dress that most likely will be returned after the event. Otherwise, she would have tailored it to fit as it was intended and not be seen dragging on the floor because of how short this woman is. Even though that People magazine is reporting that Meghan was there to offer her support, in reality, this was Meghan showing up to make up for lost time. She didn't get her moment last year, even though she was pseudo-honored. Remember, it was the horrible royal family that forced Meghan to miss being front and center of this event last year. And how could the Queen be so selfish to die when Megsy was on her 283rd comeback and rebranding tour? Meghan's Variety cover was also ready to go, but ended up being postponed to redoing the interview that most likely was laced with more venom attacking the royal family. You see, Meghan never got to get up in front of this A-list crowd to give her acceptance speech, showing them how much better she was than the extraordinary talent and other influential women in the room, all because she was a duchess. Variety magazine recognized quickly Meghan was the most hated woman globally and quietly backtracked honoring her as a power woman by leaving off of her Variety cover the honored title that all honorees are given. This year's invite was just a consolation and a favor to WME, in my opinion. With her security guards in tow, as you can see Chris Sanchez and Baldy in this photo, Meghan sat at table number 12, stewing away over missing her moment last year as she watched A-listers praising one another for the impactful work that has been done. One has to wonder what word salad garbage Megsy would have said last year to justify being honored. Would we have been treated to the soap commercial tale once again? Or would a new, fresh set of lies been shared? Thank God the world will never know. It sure is pathetic that the only thing that people can talk to Meghan about is this show that she wasn't even a star of.
But I will say, I'm sure you've probably noticed that a certain show, Suits, has become a phenomenon yet again on Netflix. 45 billion minutes have been watched.
Is that right?
45 billion as of this week. We just found out 24 minutes ago that is the number.
Who's counting?
But literally, who's counting? What do you think is behind this renewed love for the show? Why has it become such a phenomenon again?
I have no idea. It was great to work on. Such a great cast and crew. We had a really fun time. I was on it for 7 seasons, so quite a bit. But it's hard to find a show you can binge watch that many episodes of these days, so that could have something to do with it. But good shows are everlasting.
When you strip away all this propaganda, what does Megsy have to show for herself after 5 years, aside from attacking her husband's family, censoring people online, as well as doing pap shoots in the parking lot? The answer is dick. She's done nothing. No one is buying any of what she's saying here.
What you're doing now, you have now come into Hollywood in a producerial capacity. What is inspiring you? And as you're kind of looking to make these new projects, what is the thing that is, driving the work that you're going to put out into the business?
things that make people feel, I was going to say good, but it's more than that. Things that make people feel something, right? And feel a sense of community, but we have so many exciting things on this slate. I can't wait until we can announce them, but we're just really proud of what we're creating. My husband is loving it too.
Well, that sure sounds like a whopper of a lie. Look at Meghan blinking her eyes as if she's having a seizure. Also, she's completely avoiding eye contact and touching her or trying to touch her hair, which is not there, which are clear signs when she's lying. And she says they're creating content to make people feel something. So are we to assume that there's more gaslighting on the way? Anyone can see that this woman was there to promote herself. It was not about helping and lifting up other women, because if she was truly lifting up women, then she would have something else to talk about aside from nothing. This woman did not want to leave the red carpet. And as you can see, her assistant, Ashley, makes the mistake of going up to her to get her to move along. And here Meghan is shoving her shoulder back. And you could tell that Meghan wasn't going anywhere. She had been preparing for this moment for probably now a year since she missed last year's. And knowing that she wasn't going to get a speech or anything like that, this was all the FaceTime that she was going to get. So she was milking it for what it was worth. This woman is so beyond thirsty, man. Just because Meghan made it into the room doesn't mean that Meghan is part of this A-list club, because she's not. The hard reality is that no one was lining up to take a picture with her. That's facts.
Because this is a night that is about supporting women and the idea that it's important to do so, especially in the entertainment industry. Why has that been so important for you to have that support and to give that support back?
Keep in mind, Meghan did not help any of the actors who were on strike. Listen to this inauthentic bullshit.
Oh gosh, I mean, this industry is just so special, and you see how many women use the platform that they have and just channel it for good.
Except for you, Meghan. You abused your platform using it for selfish purposes. Let's call it what it is.
And I think as the more we support each other, it just amplifies the work, amplifies our community. I'm just thrilled to be back in it and to be able to sit in this room, be in such good company tonight, and also to focus so much on how it's the crossroads of entertainment meeting philanthropy.
Sit in this room and be in such good company. In other words, tying herself to these celebrities as if she's one of them without having to do any of the work. This is on par for her brand. What I don't understand is, why is Hollywood continuing to give Meghan these opportunities to be in the same space with some of these legends? All it does is expose the fakeness of these types of events that Hollywood puts on. Anytime you attach Meghan Markle to it, it erodes the integrity of, if it is truly a genuine event to honor people, it takes away from that, putting into question everybody else. I mean, look at Oprah standing there. We all know how devious and manipulative she was, but she's there in this crowd.
To focus so much on how it's the crossroads of entertainment meeting philanthropy.
Meghan almost forgot her lines there. What does she know about philanthropy? If Meghan's such a voice for women, as she has represented UN Women and continues to ride off of that, this would have been a perfect opportunity to bring light to an issue that has been going on at the World Health Organization, an organization that she supports, in taking advantage of vulnerable women. A couple days ago, the Associated Press broke this story about this misconduct happening at the UN. Now, I'm going to have to substitute some of my words because of YouTube's censorship principles. Everything that talks about exposing these globalists and what they're doing, they're trying to figure out how to keep this on the down low. As we're seeing in the mainstream media, not many people are talking about it, but people are aware of it. This is what they uncovered. Says, earlier this year, the doctor who leads the World Health Organization's effort to prevent sexual abuse traveled to Congo to address the biggest known intimate relations scandal in the UN Health Agency's history, the abuse of well over 100 local women by staffers and others during a deadly Ebola outbreak. According to an internal WHO report from Dr. Gaia's trip in March, one of the abused women she met gave birth to a baby with a malformation that required special medical treatment, meaning even more costs for the young mother in one of the world's poorest countries. To help women like her, the WHO has paid $250 each to at least 104 women in Congo who say they were sexually abused or exploited by officials working to stop Ebola. That amount per victim is less than a single day's expenses for some UN officials working in the Congolese capital, and $19 more than what Dr. Gaia received per day during her 3-day visit, according to internal documents obtained by the Associated Press. The amount covers typical living expenses for less than 4 months in a country where, the WHO documents noted, many people survive on less than $2.15 a day. This is how you know that the UN is a farce. These people are living on $2.15 a day, and the UN's preaching around ending poverty and making people able to live in a more equal and just world. How is the UN creating an equal and just world when the people who have been committing these atrocities are immune from any type of criminal persecution? That's one of the perks for working at the UN. No wonder why Meghan and Harry want so desperately to be a part of it. So, in order for these abused women to receive this measly $250, they were required to complete training courses intended to help them start income generating activities, whatever that means. The payments appear to try to circumvent the UN's stated policy that it does not pay reparations by including the money in what it calls a complete package of support. Jeez, man. Keep in mind that the World Health Organization is the organization trying to take global powers away from sovereign nations with this pandemic treaty that is being pushed forward into closing if we don't stop it by May 2024. It's also being reported in this article that many of the Congolese women who were abused received nothing so far. Now, the WHO is pushing back by saying that a dozen of these women had refused the offer, but would you believe that? I find that hard to believe, especially if, many of these women are living in poverty. I think $250 to them could be used to help feed their family and keep, whatever shelter that they have in place or for whatever medical needs that they need to pay for. This is so shameful. A total of $26,000 that the WHO has provided to these abuse victims equals about 1% of the $2 million that the WHO created in the Survivor Assistance Fund for victims of this very same situation, primarily in the Congo. This article gets more infuriating. It says, in interviews, recipients told the AP the money they received was hardly enough, but they wanted justice even more. Paula Donovan, who co-directs the Code Blue campaign to eliminate what it calls impunity for sexual misconduct in the UN, described the WHO payments to victims of sexual abuse and exploitation as perverse. It's not unheard of for the UN to give people seed money so they can boost their livelihoods, but to mesh that with compensation for a sexual assault or a crime that results in the birth of a baby is unthinkable, she said. Requiring the women to attend training before receiving the cash set uncomfortable conditions for victims of wrongdoing seeking help. The two women who met with Dr. Gaia told her that what they most wanted was for the perpetrators to be brought to account so they could not harm anyone else. The WHO documents said the women were not named. There is nothing we can do to make up for the abuse and exploitation, Dr. Gaia told the AP in an interview. Again, this goes back to what I said earlier. The UN is exempt for any type of criminal prosecution. They are essentially above the law. So ask yourself this question: do you want the WHO moving on this pandemic treaty and assuming more power and control when there is no accountability for them? I don't think so. I certainly don't. The WHO told the Associated Press that criteria to determine its victim survivor package included the cost of food in Congo and global guidance on not dispensing more cash than what would be reasonable for the community in order to not expose recipients to further harm. Huh? Dr. Guy said the WHO was following recommendations set by experts at local charities and other UN agencies. At least one woman who said she was raped, take the G off of that word, and impregnated by a WHO doctor negotiated compensation that agencies' officials signed off on, including a plot of land and health care. The doctor also agreed to pay $100 a month until the baby was born in a deal to protect the integrity and reputation of the World Health Organization. Another woman said that she was pressured into having intimate relations with a WHO official in exchange for a job as an infection control worker with the Ebola response team in the eastern Congo city of Beni, an epicenter of the 2018-2020 outbreak. Like other women, she did not share her last name for fear of reprisals. This same woman confirmed that she had received the $250 from the WHO, but the agency told her she had to take a baking course to obtain it. For a visiting WHO staffer working in Congo, the standard daily allowance ranges from about $144 to $480. Dr. Gaia received $231 a day during her 3-day trip to the Congolese capital. According to these internal documents, they show that staff costs take up more than half of the $1.5 million the World Health Organization allotted towards the prevention of sexual misconduct in the Congo for 2022 and 2023, or $821,856. But this next statistic is going to blow your mind. The WHO's Congo office has a total allocated budget of $174 million, and its biggest funder is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This goes on to say that the UN Health Agency continues to struggle with holding perpetrators of sexual abuse and exploitation to account in Congo. A WHO-commissioned panel found at least 83 perpetrators during the Ebola response, including at least 21 WHO staffers. The youngest known victim was 13. This investigation later revealed that senior WHO management was told of the sexual exploitation during the agency's efforts to curb Ebola, even as the abuse was happening, but did little or nothing to stop it. No senior managers, including some who were aware of this abuse during the outbreak, were fired. This is criminal, man. Another woman interviewed by the Associated Press said she was impregnated when a WHO official forced her to have intimate relations to get a job during the outbreak. She now has a 5-year-old daughter as a result and received a really insufficient $250 from the WHO after taking courses in tailoring and baking. She worries about what might happen in a future health crisis in conflict-hit Eastern Congo, where poor infrastructure and resources mean any emergency response relies heavily on outside help from the WHO and others. I can't put my trust in the WHO anymore, she said. When they abandon you in such difficulties and leave you without doing anything, it's irresponsible. Folks, we really need to push back on these folks about this pandemic treaty. It is both binding and it gives extensive powers to this organization. Those powers include the ability to override any country's rules about declaring a pandemic, population surveillance, vaccine mandates, lockdowns, and so much more. So when you see these women being honored as these upstanding power women making an impact in philanthropy, what exactly are they really doing? Certainly, they're not helping the folks in the Congolese who are being raped every day.
Feels so good to be in this room. Woo! Variety, thank you so much for inviting me to join and recognize and honor the power of women. I've been talking about the power of women, which seems like all my life now.
The sad part about it is that people who have the money have the power. This woman, Oprah, is the biggest exploiter of women. And here she is being a so-called champion and advocate in this room. It's like, come on, folks, like enough already. What we see with these fake events is all about stroking each other's egos and feeling validated by their peers, like as if these people are any kind of gods to look up to. Listen to what Oprah says.
Because I know just how important it is to be able to validate and acknowledge. One of the great lessons of the Oprah show is that I understood that every single person is looking for the same thing, and that is a sense of validation and knowing that they matter.
So here's the problem with society. What we're noticing here is a godless society that these people are building who want to be worshiped and adored over God. Look, I don't need Oprah or any of these people to tell me that I'm worth something. The lack of humility and arrogance is astounding. Like, nobody wants what you're selling, Oprah, and neither what Meghan's selling either. The bottom line on this is really just for ego boosts. Meghan is seen in a room filled with A-listers doesn't mean that she is an A-lister herself. And I'm sure Meghan's people are listening to this, but they should know Meghan is not a power woman. People see her for what she is, which is a fraud. Meghan does not uplift women. Meghan is not a good role model for women. She is a complete cancer on society. And by inviting her to this, took down the event a couple notches. Just my opinion. But what do you think? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
I was such a fraud.